Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to open up a pretty amazing chapter in our history books together. I want you to travel with me way, way back in time to the year 1775. Picture a world totally different from ours. No cars, no electricity, and believe it or not, no United States of America. Today, we're exploring the very birth of liberty. It's a time of epic challenges, incredible courage, and a grand adventure that kicked off the American Revolutionary War. So are you ready to see how it all began? Let's go.
Now, I want you all to use your imaginations for a second. Have you ever had to deal with an incredibly bossy leader? You know, someone who lives far, far away from you, who really doesn't understand your daily life at all, but who still tries to tell you exactly what to do every single minute of the day. Well, that is exactly how the people living in America felt back then. They lived in separate areas called colonies, completely ruled by Britain. And man, they were getting so tired of being bossed around without having a say. It really makes you wonder, right? What is the breaking point? What happens when you finally put your foot down and just say, enough is enough?
And that brings us to a really crucial number, 13. Back then, there weren't 50 states like we have today. Nope, there were just 13 American colonies. And get this, they were all very different from one another. They even had different types of money and completely different ways of living. But they all shared that exact same feeling of being treated unfairly by British rule. Imagine trying to get 13 completely different groups of friends to agree on one massive, dangerous decision. It wasn't easy, but the situation with Britain got so tough that these 13 separate colonies decided they absolutely had to team up and act like one big family.
Chapter 1. The 13 Angry Colonies.
So let's break down this massive argument. You can see the two sides perfectly right here. On one side, Britain started slapping heavy taxes on the colonists. They created strict rules like the Stamp Act and the Tea Act. Basically, this meant the colonists had to pay extra money to Britain for everyday things. Not fun, right? On the other side, we have the colonists' demands. And they weren't just angry about the money. They were protesting because they wanted freedom and representation. They wanted a voice. They just wanted to be heard. So you can see how Britain's unfair rules crashed right into the colonists' desire to be treated fairly. It was a total recipe for a massive conflict.
Chapter 2. The very first shots.
Eventually, all that talking and protesting shifted into real, scary action. On April 19, 1775, the very first shots of the Revolutionary War rang out. Fighting actually broke out at two places called Lexington and Concord. I want you to picture this really intense scene. On one side, you have the colonial militia. These were just regular, everyday people, farmers, shopkeepers, who grabbed whatever they could to defend their homes. And facing them, the powerful British redcoats in their bright, intimidating uniforms. The smoke from their muskets totally filled the air as the sun rose. Those musket fires became known as the shot heard around the world because of how incredibly important they were. The war for liberty had officially started.
Chapter 3. Washington takes command.
Now, the colonies desperately needed a leader, and George Washington stepped up to the plate. He was appointed as the commander of the Continental Army. Now, keep in mind, this army wasn't some group of highly trained professional soldiers. They were those everyday colonists we just talked about. But Washington took charge. Picture him riding in on his horse, standing tall and brave. He used his incredible leadership to keep everyone's spirits high. Even when things were literally freezing and soldiers were shivering in the winter snow with barely any supplies, he inspired them to never give up and to keep pushing through this incredibly hard fight for independence.
Chapter 4. Declaring our independence.
On July 4th, 1776, America declared its independence from Britain, forever changing history. Try to paint this picture in your minds, okay? The Founding Fathers are all gathered together in a room in Philadelphia, lit only by candlelight. They were taking a massive risk here. I mean, if they lost the war, signing this paper would be considered a very serious crime by the king. But they picked up their quills anyway. They signed a document that told Britain and the entire world that they were breaking away to become their own completely free country. It was an incredibly brave promise to one another, and it's the exact reason we still celebrate with fireworks every single 4th of July.
Chapter 5. Teamwork at Yorktown. Fast forward a bit to the year 1781, and something amazing happened. You see, the American forces didn't fight this whole war alone. French forces actually came all the way across the ocean to help them out. They teamed up. This incredible teamwork between the American and French soldiers led to a massive victory against the British at a place called Yorktown. The British were finally forced to surrender. It was the grand climax, the final major victory of the war, absolutely proving that you can't win a big fight without friends.
Chapter 6: The Birth of America.
As you know, patience is key. After that huge victory at Yorktown in 1781, it actually took 2 more whole years of waiting and talking before things were completely settled. But finally, in 1783, Britain officially recognized the United States as an independent nation. They admitted that the United States was no longer just a group of colonies under British rule, but its very own, completely free country. All that hard work and bravery finally paid off. The American Revolutionary War was officially over, and the United States was truly born.
And this brilliantly illustrates the grand adventure from start to finish. Let's just retrace our steps really quickly. We started in 1775, when the 13 colonies finally said enough was enough. Right after that, on April 19th, 1775, those very first scary shots were fired. The very next year, on July 4th, 1776, they bravely declared their independence. Then they fought hard for years until that amazing teamwork brought victory at Yorktown in 1781. And finally, the ultimate prize, official recognition of independence in 1783. 8 long years from start to finish to build a brand new nation.
Now, why does this matter to us today, and why does it matter to the rest of the world? Well, because the American Revolutionary War didn't just create the United States. It became this incredible, shining beacon of hope. The birth of this new nation inspired people around the entire globe to realize that they, too, could stand up to unfair rulers. It showed people everywhere who wanted to be free that it was actually possible, that everyday people could join together and fight for a better, fairer future for themselves. Which brings me to a final thought for you, my bright young historians. I want you to imagine the war is over. The fighting has completely stopped. You're standing in a peaceful, free landscape, exactly like the Founding Fathers did. It's now up to you to build a country totally from scratch. So think really hard about this. If you were starting a brand new country today, what would your very first rule be? Would it be about fairness, kindness, maybe teamwork? Keep that question rolling around in your mind as you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible explainer today, and I absolutely cannot wait to explore more amazing history with you all next time.